Beautiful good afternoon. Today is August 9, 2022, 12 noon punctually. Welcome to our webinar, Typology of Candidates and Employees. Mind versus heart, declaration versus motivation. About today, we will answer all questions during the Q&A session. The webinar itself, I know that you're sharing your lunch breaks with me, so I'll try to keep it to about 30-40 minutes of content. And then I will post the recording so we can openly talk during Q&A. My name is Sandra Bichl, and I'm representing Career Angels today. For those who don't know me, I started working in 2002 in executive search. I've worked also in sales and marketing in Latin America. And in 2010, I decided to found Career Angels, a career consulting boutique that supports senior managers and executives in their career management and job search. Over the last years, our services have adapted. We also train HR departments and HR professionals to be better at, for example, recruitment. Since 2014, I've been a guest lecturer at various business schools across Europe. In 2017, I got certified by Decision Dynamics in two tools called Career View and Culture View. And last year, based on our career consultant course that we had been running for several years back then, we were asked to design an entire postgraduate degree called Career Advisory. And not only did I design that postgraduate degree, but I was also one of the main lecturers. And it was successful enough for the university to decide to kick off a second edition that will start in October. One thing that I like mentioning, and you will find it in almost all of our materials and at the beginning of all of our webinars, our methodology is based on data. We ourselves collect data. We have now collected over 5,000 reactions, or to be precise, we have because the reactions were more, we have collected reactions of more than 5,000 headhunters and almost 20,000 decision makers. So we see what works and what doesn't work on the job market on the one hand, and on the other hand, we always look for partners that have a similar mentality, that are data-driven, that conduct their own research, that have their own analytical tools. For example, Decision Dynamics. We did a research project with InfoPraca that I will be sharing more about later today, the applicant tracking system Element, and so forth. Now, today is about the typology of candidates and employees. If we ask anybody, what do employees expect from employers? What do you think do they expect? Everybody will say something slightly different. When you scroll through LinkedIn, Gallup will say that a recent study shows that employees expect pay and well-being related issues to be addressed. They want a job that plays to their strength. Of course, Gallup would say that. They expect job security. They expect COVID-19 policies and DEI priorities. If you look at a different statistics, this is from 2022, you can see the link on the slides. The World Economic Forum says well-being and purpose, flexible working conditions, work-life balance, skills development. A different survey in the States says, no, it's more about flexibility. And if there is no flexibility, 40% would say they'd walk away from their job. Then a different survey says people are concerned about their employer tracking. 64% of leaders believe in-office employees perform better. Okay, now everybody, well, a friend of mine once said, don't believe in statistics you haven't manipulated yourself. So of course, those are statistics based on a certain group of people. But what's very important, you cannot, well, you can, but you shouldn't create job ads, recruitment processes, or benefits based on flawed assumptions and results of the majority. So now the question is, if, of course, you want to be an organization that cares about engaging everyone and you look for diversity. Because everyone is different, everybody is motivated by something else. What motivates one can drive away another. So now the question is, can you somehow group what we all know intuitively? Intuitively, we know there are candidates and employees that are very willing to change. Then there are some that are more hesitant. Some candidates need to be convinced to even try to apply. Sometimes you have to run after candidates, please send me your CV, and that takes 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, sometimes months. And then there are people, candidates, you hang up the phone and you already have their CV in your mailbox. There are some who want to pursue the expert path or a managerial path. So intuitively, we know that some want to set up their own companies, some prefer to be freelancers or contractors, and then there are some who say, if I don't get an employment contract with a guaranteed minimum length of 2 years, don't even talk to me. So can that be grouped? That's the underlying question. Are there patterns that influence how all of us make career decisions? And the answer is yes, that's why we have a webinar. More than 40 years ago, a gentleman called Michael Driver asked himself exactly that question. How come that all of us make different career decisions? So what I'm sharing here today with you is a summary of more than 40 years of research, more than 1 million conducted analysis of career paths. And the results show us that there are 4 patterns when we talk about career management, expert, linear, spiral, transitory. And when we discuss career, we need to differentiate between so-called career concepts and career motives. For those who are already familiar with this, with that part of know-how, treat it as a reminder, because based on that know-how, we can then very nicely translate that into what kind of recruitment processes, expert, linear, spiral, transitory, expect, what kind of keywords in job ads will work for one group, but definitely not for another. So let's get started. Career concepts. Career concepts is the view of a successful career according to one's mind. It is the direction of movement and duration of stay in one field. In other words, I look at somebody's career track and I see how long did somebody stay in their professional field, and if they decided to change, after how much time did the change happen, and which direction does the change go into. And that mathematically, statistically shows us the concept. So the expert concept means that the duration of stay in one field is for life, and there is little movement overall. Linear means that the person stays for an indeterminate time in the professional field, because once there is an opportunity to change upward, they will take that opportunity. And upward movement means from a branding, influence, material perspective. Then we have spiral. Spiral means changes happen every 5 to 10 years to something laterally related. For example, my colleague studied psychology. She then worked for 7 years in recruitment, executive search, then moved to the client side to work in HR. Now she is in career. So overall, we're more or less broadly in the same field of HR. And then we have transitory. Changes happen every 2 to 4 years. And when change happens, the change goes to something laterally unrelated. Several years ago, somebody would have said, you shouldn't even call it a career because it is a pattern without a pattern. It is the least traditional view of one's career. Now, where does it come from that some say, well, a successful career is staying in one field for life? And somebody else says, the more diversity there is in my career, the more success you have. Where does it come from? It stems from our upbringing, family, where we come from, society, TV shows, all those external factors. Okay, then let's move to what the heart says, the so-called career motives. Underlying career motives according to one's heart indicates the kind of career pattern that would bring most personal satisfaction. The expert motive longs for security and expertise, linear for power and achievement, spiral for personal growth and creativity, transitory for variety and independence. Now, summarizing the differences. So the concept is what the mind tells us we should be doing. So in career decisions, how we view a successful career will influence our decisions. So the headwinds in career decisions, it is the actual career path in the CV. So you could now all of you could take your own CVs and see how often, after how much time do changes happen, and then which directions do those changes go, and you can calculate and extrapolate your own career patterns, your career concepts. And it is usually the declarations during interviews. And when I say interviews, I mean interviews in the broad sense of things, including annual performance reviews. So this is what we say because we assume that this is what the organizations want us to say. This is what the recruiter expects us to say. Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So most candidates will keep the real motives to themselves and keep the declarations at a concept brain level. Now, the motives, on the other hand, is what really triggers and releases real performance. This is what really gets us going, what we enjoy doing. Now, what's important is that 64% of working adults have head and heart not aligned. That doesn't mean that 64% of working adults are miserable. It just means they could be happier. Now, what are the reasons for this lack of alignment? One, it could be lack of awareness. It could be conscious manipulation to say, I'll say what they expect me to say, or this is a decision I'll need to take because this is what makes more sense for my family, for my career, strategically, financially. But that doesn't mean that we actually enjoyed it and that our head will get us the performance that our heart would actually get. Okay, now, once we understand that career decisions are made at a mind level, we also need to understand that the heart level translates the engagement, the performance, the competencies. So let's have a look which competencies are associated with each of the patterns. So expert motives are connected to the following competencies: establishing routines, persistence, refining quality, acting long-term, specializing in depth, increasing professionalism. And while I'm reading that out loud, some of you already go, yes, that's me, check, check, no, I don't like that. Linear, strengthening competitiveness, driving towards goals, improving efficiencies, strengthening leadership, improving profitability, increasing growth. Not only are you good at it, but linear profiles thoroughly enjoy those areas. Spiral motives have the following competencies attached to them: broadening competencies, renewing, crossing boundaries, meaning diversification, innovation, creativity, developing others, developing oneself, developing teamwork. So one could say that those are more soft HR related competencies. And transitory competencies. Some would say, okay, maybe at a mind level, I wouldn't enjoy changing jobs every 2 to 4 years to completely new things, but I do like trying new things. I do like speeding things up. I like when things move. I do enjoy learning quickly. I do enjoy networking. I like being mobile and agile. I like managing myself. So to give an example, when we say we would be looking for a head of IT, we would look at somebody who enjoys managing within their area of expertise. So here we would look for somebody who has the combination of expert and linear, which shows us that when we have, and everybody has a so-called primary and secondary career motive, so a preference for two of those four patterns. So once we have that combination, we can predict which career path will be probably most suitable for that particular person, employee, or candidate. So when I have the combination of expert and linear competencies, those are the best, most suitable functional managers. So head of IT, head of quality, head of etc. Expert and spiral consultants, either external consultant or internal consultants. Expert and transitory, so people who love specializing in a field but don't like having a boss, perfect freelance path. Linear and spiral, general management. Linear and transitory, meaning I want my freedom, means independent business owner. Spiral and transitory, so innovation, creativity, plus I don't want to have a boss, would be an entrepreneur or intrapreneur. So as I said at the beginning, all of those patterns can also translate into candidate personas. So before I start a recruitment process, I need to understand what kind of competencies do I need? In other words, what kind of profiles do I want to attract to my organization to that specific role? And based on that, I can extrapolate what kind of keywords I need in the job description, what to specifically focus on in the recruitment process, what to praise them for orally once they're already part of my organization, and what they pay attention to when it comes to rewards. So let's see. As a reminder, experts, they don't like change. They like staying in their field as long as possible. So often they would be seen as difficult candidates because they're not as enthusiastic and exciting as we would want them to be. Keywords in the job ad. So how do I make things interesting for them? Subject matter aspects are important. Words like loyalty, showing long-term benefits, mentioning that you honor achievements in their field of expertise, employment contracts, training possibilities, access to high quality tools, paid databases, subscriptions, all these things that are connected to their expertise, and giving them leeway to also fully develop their expertise further. What's key in the recruitment process is predictable stages. Now, some will say, hey, but everybody wants predictable stages of a recruitment process. For experts, it goes as far as if a recruiter tells them, I will share my feedback with you on Monday, but that feedback doesn't come until Thursday, that for them is a reason to withdraw from the recruitment process. Even if the recruiter says, I'm so sorry, I know I was supposed to get back to you on Monday, but something happened, for them, this is a big, big red flag and a no-go. So in case, if you want to attract expert competencies to the organization, it is not only important to have predictable stages and to communicate that transparently, but to also communicate any kind of delays. So if the recruiter says, I'll share with you my feedback on Monday, but you already know there will be a delay on Monday, then let them know that there will be a delay. They will appreciate it. Otherwise, they'll withdraw and you will not find out why. Performance management. Expert profiles appreciate being praised for precision, reliability, and expert knowledge. The formal rewards they expect are benefits, trainings to further specialize, special rewards, for example, for knowledge, completing a course, a degree, for loyalty. So those are the ones who get excited with a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year anniversary, and budget responsibility. So in other words, they don't want to manage teams. They want to manage budgets and their area of know-how. Linear, remember, we said their KPIs or their competencies are KPI business driven. So that's what we then need to reflect in the job description and the recruitment process. So keywords in the job ad would mean leadership, KPIs, managing, challenge, we are the best, we want to improve market share. They look at leadership position of an organization on the market. They pay attention to aspect of prestige and remuneration, perspective of a further path upward. Remember, they're mostly motivated by upward movement, which means that if we want to attract strong competencies within linear, what's key in the recruitment process is to give them early access to the relevant people in the hierarchy. If they are forced to speak with too many low-level, forced to speak with too many low-level people in an organization, they will not feel treated with respect and they will withdraw. And they also expect an open and transparent, straightforward conversation about remuneration, the package early on in the discussion, because they don't want to waste their time and your time. Performance management. So how do you keep linear profiles happy? You praise them for cost reduction, leadership skills, logistics or operational skills. On the other hand, what do they expect? They expect promotions, a clear benefit system, and clear or access to management trainings, MBAs, INSEAD, and the like. Having a business coach, a mentor, so those kinds of things. Then moving on to spiral. So we said spiral competencies are those softer competencies around people, broadening competencies, renewing, crossing boundaries, developing others, developing oneself, developing teamwork. So you can already kind of deduce, okay, people will be important, relationships will be important. So the keywords, additional projects, they do like creativity and innovation. Atmosphere is important. Education is important because development for them is important, but broad development, not too specialized. People and team is important. Having development options is important. Key in the recruitment process is building rapport. They want to, those are the ones in the recruitment process will say, could I please meet my peers? Can I speak to my future team members? Because that's what's important to them. They need to feel a connection to the team, to the organization, more than anybody, any of the other patterns. Performance management, they appreciate being praised for creativity, diverse and broad competencies, and team skills. Expected formal rewards, additional projects from related fields, job rotation, education, creative freedom. Transitory, and I think we'll be good with the half hour. So transitory, those skills are what I would call skills of the 21st century. Trying new things, speeding things up, learning quickly, being agile, networking, connecting people, and they're very independent, so they are very good at managing themselves. If you need those competencies in your organization, what has to be part of the job ad are things like bonuses, time pressure, diversity, independence, challenges, and they themselves need to have the option to decide whether to do remote offers or hybrids. They don't like being forced into a solution. What's important in the recruitment process is for the recruitment process to really be fast. And by fast, I mean not 3 weeks or a month. I'm talking 24 to 48 hours to give them the heads up that they're part of the recruitment process. So fast here means fast, especially if we're talking about a combination of those competencies with, for example, expert competencies that are sought after on the market, because you compete for that kind of talent. For example, the combination of expert and transitory. which means if you might lose out to talent just because somebody was faster in responding to a candidate than you were. So here, fast process, fast communication is absolutely key. Performance management, they appreciate being praised for speed, ability to adapt and react quickly, recognizing opportunities. Expected formal rewards, immediate cash bonuses, special projects, job rotation, independence. So in other words, no micromanagement. Okay, so summarizing before we go into Q&A, and I'll stop recording. Summarizing what you can do from an organization's perspective, from a manager's perspective, you can design internal and external recruitment processes, taking necessary skills into consideration. So my recommendation, build a candidate persona, and based on the candidate persona, build the job ads, the specification, the process, and everything that then follows, including onboarding. Now, this is all, it is science, it is research data. But for those who know me personally, you will know that I'm a rather skeptical person, and I do want to verify the data that is shown to me. So we did a research project about 4 or 5 years ago with Infopraca, because we wanted to see if the connection between keywords, description, and the quality of candidates that apply, if there really is that connection, if you could really, if it works, if it's true. So what we did, we're recruiting for one position, which was an HR support role, but we described the job itself in 3 different ways: in an expert transitory way, in a more traditional expert kind of way, so what nowadays one would say boring traditional, and in a very hype 21st century, very youthful language kind of way. So we had 3 different job descriptions for exactly the same role. We posted the job description in 11 major cities, so 33 job descriptions, to collect data and look at click-through rate, number of candidates, number of qualified candidates. Long story short, because I could walk you through the entire process, which was super interesting, for another 15 minutes. But long story short, data confirmed that there is a very clear connection between the competencies I want to attract to the organization and how you formulate the job descriptions, what kind of keywords you use. What is also true, the more modern youthful you go in terms of describing, the more clicks you will get and the more candidates you will get, but they have nothing to do with the competency profile that you actually want to attract. What you can also do, summarizing, you can promote and recruit not based on the declarations of the candidates during the interviews, but you can do that based on the real motives of those profiles and candidates. In other words, you get better results. Ever since we have introduced that new approach to recruitment at Career Angels, we have managed to reduce our rotation from 30 to 50% to 0%. In other words, when up until 4 or 5 years ago, we had to recruit 2 to 3 people for one to stay within the first 3 months. Sometimes it was our decision, sometimes it was their decision. Right now, when we onboard somebody, we will know that they will stay for at least 3 months. What you can also do, you can, with that know-how, you can train managers on what to praise their employees for in order to boost their efficiency and performance. And you can match benefits much more accurately. And as you might remember, most of those benefits were not necessarily, didn't have a necessary high monetary value, like job rotation, giving them access to different projects, giving them freedom of creativity. So knowing what your employees/candidates expect based on their typology also then means that you can match benefits better from a cost efficiency perspective and from a performance perspective. And of course, there's so much more you can do with that know-how. Now, if it's okay, this sounds interesting, you can get in touch with me, of course, by email. And if you say, well, this is very interesting know-how, this is interesting information, can I find more? I would recommend you check out also a postgraduate degree called Career Advisory, where we share not only that, but much more information. I'm also pasting that link into the chat. Now, if you say, I want to receive the materials from today, meaning this presentation and the link to the recording, for those who haven't done it yet, please fill out this questionnaire. Let me also copy paste it into the chat. There you go. And this is, see, it's very precisely 30 minutes of content. Now we have time for Q&A. The only thing I'll do, I'll now switch off the recording so we can openly discuss your questions. This would now go here, your questions. Just give me a second. I can already see your questions popping up in the chat as direct message and indirect messages.